All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to QUA-NOLOGY. This is the podcast that reviews every chronological appearance of your favorite cosmic powered superhero,
That's
Quasar.
right.
This is your co-host, Mike Allen, as always, been joined by
Joshua Mervell. Today, we're going to be taking a look at 4 cosmic issues of Quasar. I'm pretty excited. This story arc is really, really good so far.
Yeah, I agree. I just read, I just reread it for maybe the 3rd or 4th time this weekend, and it's just as good as I remember. We didn't really, so we should just say this is a 7-part story, Cosmos and Collision, and we are going to be reviewing the first 4 parts on today's episode, and then the next 3 parts on the next episode. We didn't really plan out how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But,
do you want to go issue by issue still, or do you want to kind of like...
Yeah, I want to go issue by issue.
Okay.
But we can make it shorter, though. We can
sure.
Make it shorter. But yeah, do you want to do the first one, and I'll do the second one?
And then third, fourth. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can rotate.
So you start off. Yeah, you can just quickly summarize.
Yeah, okay. So Quasar is now in his new costume, as we can kind of see here. The cover, we've got him fighting the Jack of Hearts, I believe his name is, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we have Doctor Strange peering over the planet or like the moon or something in the distance. I didn't even
notice that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Didn't even notice him there.
And okay, so we start this issue off with this kind of abstract story. We're introduced to this being who is this like celestial being, gigantic, ethereal humanoid who's kind of living amongst the stars, and he bumps into another being, another
cosmic
right
being, yeah.
Who you know is similar to him, and he introduces himself, and he kind of talks about how his name is Kronos, and he is ever expanding because he was this creature, and he's getting bigger and bigger every single day. So his goal in life is to find Eternity, who is one of the ancestral beings of the universe, and they kind of represent things or ideas. Yeah,
the abstract
ideas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's kind of like almost infatuated by this idea that even though he's going to continuously expand for eternity, there's still going to be somebody who's ahead of him. So his goal in life is to fly around the universe and to find her. And that kind of gives this guy the idea that like there are beings that are unbelievably strong, that he can take their powers away essentially, and he this evil purple entity being has something to strive for. He wants to find these things and take on their power. And then we're kind of back into our story with Quasar. We have the X Squadron Supreme still here on Earth, living in Project Pegasus. They're kind of, having a little fun. They're arm wrestling, and then somebody barges in and tells them that Doctor Strange has showed up, and we get this fun little moment of him and Quasar talking, and he's like, "Oh, you got my message," and Doctor Strange's like, "Your message? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I just got like some anomaly thing and wanted to come and see what was going on. And it must be you guys from this other universe." So he actually tries to send them back to their home planet, and while doing so, they actually get half sent back, and not like 50% transparency or something, but like they're literally like 1 foot in this universe and 1 foot in another. So Quasar has to go into this other universe and pull them back to make them whole again. And we kind of learn that in their universe, there's this being, this like wizard supreme, so not a sorcerer supreme, I guess that's kind of their version of this,
right?
Has connected with one of their children, and this child is like learning everything about magic and won't let them back into the universe because they feel like there's some sort of threat. It's not really clear as to why they can't go back, but they are stuck here on Earth. We cut over to the Jack of Hearts, and he is leading this convoy to Earth. And Quasar, while in his office, he's kind of like talking to his friends, and he's got to once again hide the fact that he's Quasar, and the secret bookcase that's hiding Eon starts to fall, and he has to put it back up, yada yada yada. He's talking to his friend Makari, who is the Inhuman that he is like friends with and is now going to be roommates with. We cut over to what was her name? SD or SD, right?
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Well, like what her fake name is, but yeah, it's we know that she has, for some reason, connected with Eon in secret, and she goes back to her apartment, and she's talking to Eon in her head, and she's kind of like, listen, I need a bit of a break. Give me a couple of hours to like decompress, and I'll come back and continue my work. And as she's getting in, we see a wig drop onto the ground as she steps into the tub. So we know something isn't quite all it seems with her.
Yes.
So Quasar and Makari are looking at this new apartment. They decide to get it. Makari kind of makes this like little comment about how he's sad he's not the fastest person on Earth. He runs away. And then I guess Makari doesn't show up to this get together that they're having, and Vaughn is left with his secretary, Kayla, and she kind of confesses that she has feelings for him, and he's kind of like, well, I do too, but I didn't know if this was appropriate. I'm your boss. You know, blah, 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 blah. And then he gets a signal from the quantum bands that he's got to go. Some sort of threat is coming to Earth. So instead of lying, he actually just reveals his secret to her and tells her, listen, you know that guy Quasar? That's me. Here's my quantum bands. I've got to go save the Earth. And she's kind of just left stunned. He dons his new costume and he flies up to space, and he has this battle with Jack of Hearts, and they're kind of just blasting each other around. What happens here? Oh, he like traps him in this orb, thinking that he has disposed of him, and Jack of Hearts kind of wakes up and shoots one of his energy blasts out, and it bounces around the bubble that he and Quasar are in, and it ends up knocking Quasar out. And that's where we are introduced. His boss, the guy that is in charge of this convoy to Earth, shows up and says, now that Quasar's incapacitated, Eon is left open, and we can destroy him. And his name is Sergei. Yeah,
I guess Sergei, right?
Sergei.
Yeah,
So it's just Sergei, like a guy. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm gonna look it up right now. I can't. I should have looked this up before. I just want to see if it's someone else. It must be. Wait. I'm on the fandom page. Oh, sorry, listeners. Nope, there's no summary.
Oh, okay.
We don't know who the hell that is.
All right.
We should know this. He's someone important. Doesn't he come back later?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't recognize this character. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Well, this is why we were not guests at the Toronto Comic-Con this weekend. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, it was a really fun one. I think it's a great way to kick off this this story, this big arc. it really does kind of start off almost like a normal Quasar episode.
Right.
And then we start to see things unravel, not quite like they normally do. Like normal issues, we kind of like catch up with like his work friends, and he like hides Eon, and then we learn like a small little tidbit of what's going on with some of the other characters, like maybe his dad or this new worker that has some sort of connection to Eon. But we're kind of getting a little bit more in this one. We definitely see that this person is not who she says she is. She definitely has connection to Eon, and Eon knows who this woman is. And she even has on some sort of disguise. And we also have this revelation that, you know, I'm Quasar. Like, I am this superhero.
Right.
Which is not very common, I feel like, in superhero comics. Like, there's
this time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been moments where it's been revealed, but I feel like it's not very often that it's to somebody that is so important to the story.
Sure.
Like, it's not very often that Peter reveals himself to MJ that he is Spider-Man. Like, it just doesn't happen a lot in the comics. So, yeah, I was surprised by this.
Well, you mentioned, it actually, Peter Parker did not reveal that he was Spider-Man until like the 250s. Like, right? Like, that was like 25 years in. So they waited a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like, it feels like that everything that Mark Gruenwald had been planning is kind of coming together. And obviously, we know that this series went on for 60 issues, and I have read them. I did read them years ago, but I don't remember where it goes. But I feel like the subplots that he's been laying down since the beginning are all kind of now coming to fruition. You know what I mean?
For sure.
They're coming to the conclusion. And I thought this was a pretty good issue. You know, they kind of wrap up the Squadron Supreme little subplot, and then now they're moving on to the next thing. But I really do like the way that they're going back and they're touching on the subplot with oh my gosh, how come we can't remember her name? The woman that he worked with.
I know it's
Miss Steckley.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Steckley, and then like, you know, like the bookcase covering up the interdimensional.
Right, at Miss Steckley MS.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, because of the revelation. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really great issue. The art is fantastic. It's so good in all of these issues. I don't think I have one complaint about any moment in the panels themselves. Well,
you know, the thing is speaking of the art, because I kind of skipped ahead because I was looking for like Greg Capullo Quasar pinup, and I just started skipping ahead. And one thing that we can take note of is that the inks in this issue were done by, let me just check here. They're done by Keith Williams. Now, in later issues, the inks are not as good, but I think it might have still been Keith Williams. And so, unfortunately, what happened around this time was a lot of editors, Marvel editors, and maybe DC, were telling their artists to draw more like Image artists. And so it's possible that the art gets, well, a little bit messier and uglier because of the inks. But as we can see here at this stage in 1990, this art is, in my opinion, perfect. You're right. Like, it totally works with the story and the like the genre of this character too. Like the sharpness in like even just like his hand in the foreground here on this panel of him flying, like there's just something so it's like a really nice balance of feeling real and having weight to it, but then having this kind of like exaggeration and depth to the character. I really really enjoy it. I mean, even down to the fact that like Jack of Hearts energy looks so different from Quasar's. Yeah,
and they're just
point.
like blasting each other, but it looks, I don't know, they each have their own feel. And then at the end, when Sergei shows up, it's got this like Kirby crackle.
Yes.
It totally feels different. And I feel like because it has the Kirby crackle, it almost feels like we're now dealing with this being that is like from another universe. Like it does feel, it gives me those like Doctor Strange, like other universe vibes. So it's, I really, really like this issue. I really love this story arc so far. So
me too.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we move on to the next one.
Jump on to the next one, but yeah,
it's
a good start. Yeah, definitely a good start.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's jump to the next part. This is Quasar number 20.
Yeah.
And this is Cosmos in Collision Part 2. This cover,
it looks a little blown out from like the scan that we've got.
Yeah, and it's not great. I don't know. Yeah, by his standards, it's not great. Like Quasar is tiny. The bad guy in the foreground is kind of coming towards him. It's just not a. To be honest, like I didn't even remember this cover, so
right.
In that regard, it's not very memorable.
And I feel like in the first one that we read, the Doctor Strange part of the story felt like it belonged there, right?
Okay.
Like it felt like Doctor Strange had a reason to be there. Yeah. Where this one, and I feel like it kind of shows in the cover itself, it does feel like, hey, guess what, kids? The Fantastic Four is in this one. You should buy this issue. And that's kind of how it feels like in the comic itself as well. Because after the Fantastic Four show up to just kind of help out, I guess, they're gone. Like they don't help out moving forward, right? So it does feel kind of like a Wink kind of cameo. It's
totally possible they just dropped them in to increase sales. Yeah. Because I think that's what they're doing at this point, but who knows? Mm-hmm. But anyway, we open up the issue with what's his name again?
We don't know, I think, at this point, right?
Yeah, he's an anomaly, but he's speaking to this other cosmic being, and this is like a freaky scene because this other being is shaped kind of like a...
Well, this is Anomaly.
Oh,
right? He kills the entity Anomaly and then takes on the form of Anomaly, right? Gotcha. But we don't know who this person was before, and we do get like hints throughout that like this is somebody... This is like an established person in the comics, but I think up until after this, he is not known. Before this moment, he wasn't known as Anomaly.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, wait. Okay. So who's this then? What do they call this?
I don't know. Like this being,
entity.
Yeah, this unnamed entity essentially finds the Anomaly entity in this scene, and then. After learning everything about it, kills Anomaly and then takes on the form. Like now he is going to represent the abstract term Anomaly. Well,
so anyway, it's just freaky because the shape of this character, and I don't know. It's almost like a big,
like a millipede, but also like
with a head, almost like a human head, but not quite. And then the unknown entity is like talking to him, but then like talking all this kind of cosmic gibberish, but then grabs him by the head and threatens to eat him.
Right.
And then basically, I believe that happens off panel then, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a well done scene. Like, and to be fair, these types of cosmic beings go all the way back to Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange and Jim Starlin's Warlock. But when I was a kid reading these Quasar comics, I didn't know that. I just thought, oh my God, Mark Gruenwald's a genius, and I think he is a great writer. But I'm just trying to establish the legacy of these characters, right? Mm-hmm. But then we jump back over to like the ending of last issue, where now we're hanging out with this other character whose name we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Kirby Crackle guy. Jack of Hearts.
Sergei.
Sergei. Jack of Hearts has got Quasar, and then and they're yakking, and
Right.
Quasar is basically incapacitated. Jack of Hearts and Sergei are arguing, and then Sergei, we should point out, is with
Starlight.
Who used to be Red Guardian.
Right. Okay.
I think. Yeah, I guess I just call her Red Guardian because that used to be her name, but I guess she's Starlight now. Yeah. One second here, and then like there's a lot of action, and it's like taking place over a lot of pages, but not, to be honest, not much is happening there. But Quasar does manage to get away, right?
Right. So it looks like Sergei completely destroys him and like destroys his molecules, because he zaps and then he's gone. And even Sergei's like, I've destroyed every one of his molecules. He's just dust now. And then Jack of Hearts is like, that's completely fucked up. Like, you shouldn't do that to somebody, like especially somebody who's unarmed and incapacitated.
Right.
And then Sergei turns on him.
It's a good little moment. I like that. Yeah. So then we cut back over to Quasar. Quasar is like safe and sound. He's like on the other side of Earth. He flies back. Or is he on Earth? No, is he on another planet?
He like quantum jumped and then came back. And
but I like this, how he comes into the middle of a scene of a bunch of other characters. Again, these obscure Z-listers, or should I say Z-listers from Marvel. I'm trying to think, okay, who we got here. We got the Gargoyle, who we all love, right? The Gargoyle, remember him? We've got, who's this guy that's made out of...
The Diamond?
Yeah, the Diamond.
It's funny. I've definitely seen him in panels before, but he's also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, that's Martin X.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I assumed that this was the same...
How could you mix those two up? No, but anyway, yeah. Similar design, but you got different character. So anyway, I love this because then Eon's like, I love this. Eon's like, I'm under attack. Get here at once. He's like, okay, seriously. He just leaves. And I just love how he just leaves all these characters doing what they're doing. Okay, I don't have time to deal with this.
Right.
He takes off. I love that. And then so the characters from before, now they're attacking Quasar's actual office building, right? Where he's got the office with his other coworkers. And then they knock out what's his name? Tanaka?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tanaka.
Ken, right?
Ken, yeah. And then Quasar is flying through space, rushing to get back. Again, great art, just like last issue. Big close up of Quasar's face there. It's really cool. And then he notifies the Fantastic Four, and then later on they're kind of shocked to learn that Quasar has this office in their building.
Right, yeah.
Didn't bother to tell them. So they kind of come in, and now they're helping fight Starlight and the other guy. It's a pretty cool scene. I like it. Because we get to see them use their powers, and see them be like in character, which is kind of cool. Then this is freaking awesome. Then Quasar goes through the bookcase and goes into the other dimension, but Eon is gigantic, and so he flies into Eon, and he's looking around, and he's basically like inside his kind of body.
Yeah.
This is where it's almost like body horror. He looks over and he's like, that tunnel there doesn't look like any of the other passageways. It looks like it was carved or burned through Eon's innards. So he's flying through a tunnel that's inside Eon's body, which I think is very cool. So he's, again, incredible artwork. So he's going through, and then he comes across the guy whose name we don't know, and he calls him Eggman. So they start fighting back and forth, and then Eon's like, okay, this is what you got to do. He's after my heart, so you have to take my heart. And this is, again, the weird thing about Eon's anatomy. His eyeball kind of grows inside his body, looks at Quasar, and then one of his, what do you call those? It's like a energy hand. Holds the heart, gives it to Quasar, and then he actually has a really smart plan. He leaves Eon, and instead of flying away with the heart, he gives it to Ben Grimm.
Right.
Creates a duplicate, then flies away and taunts the bad guy with the duplicate, which I think was pretty cool. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, then they start fighting in space, and he quickly disposes of him by pushing him into another dimension.
Yeah, it's great. Great. And then Quasar flies back, and then the Fantastic Four is there. The Thing gives Quasar back Eon's heart. he leaves the Fantastic Four, and then we get some awesome, 60s Stan Lee-esque melodrama soap opera where he flies down, turns back into Wendell Elvis Vaughn, and then catches Makari and Kayla sharing. It looks like Kayla's been crying and maybe she's snuggling up to him. We don't know exactly what's happening. Right. But Quasar gets jealous, takes off, flies away, and then he goes home. And then again, all these subplots are coming together. Then he comes home and finds his father laying on the kitchen floor. And he's like, what the heck is going on? And this is where he finally realizes that he's dead, because the body is not even his father. It's Eon's
tendrils and
like made of his tendrils. Oh, it's great.
It's like full on body horror at this point. Like, it's terrifying. Yes. And honestly, the fact that they've colored it all in blue, I think adds to how like unhuman it all feels.
To be honest, I think it's a little bit of self-censorship, because if it was in like real color, it would have been more grotesque. But yeah, the blue's fine. I don't mind it. But yeah, I get what you mean. But then, so then he confronts Eon. He's like, how could you do this? Not even telling me that my father's been dead all this time. So then he gets pissed off. He quits being the guardian of the universe, or protector of the universe. He's like, I'm not going to use my quantum bands anymore. F you. He flies away. And then we see the floating head of the guy whose name we don't know. And he's like, oh, my plan is coming together. Whatever. And then it says, next, the enemy revealed. And that's the end of part 2. So yeah, I thought this was great.
Oh, yeah.
Good issue, right?
Yeah. Like, it starts off like, okay. Like some of the stuff I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. And then there's bits that are so good, like you were saying, him traveling through Eon and then him like giving him his heart, the dupe of like switching the hearts, and then again this reveal of his dad. Like, finally, it's been, at the time it would have been months leading up to this moment of him finding out that his dad has been dead for weeks, and Eon has stepped in and pretended to be his father, so that way he wouldn't get distracted trying to figure out what this alien threat is going to be. It is so good. I mean, like, the fact that it looks like his dad and then slowly starts to disfigure, and then it almost looks like it explodes out all of these these like tendrils and tentacles and like fungus. Like, it's like really awful. And then when Eon starts talking to him through this like pile of mush, this like face kind of like rolls out and starts talking to him through this like pile of look. Oh, it's so freaky. And then even when he like punts this like pile of Eon, it's like disgusting. It's a really good issue, and a really great build up.
And the thing is why was anyone else not loving this the way I did when this was coming out? Like, this is great writing and great art. Yeah. And I have to reiterate the story that I've probably told a couple times. In the mid-90s, once Greg Capullo got hired to do Spawn, because Todd McFarlane hired him to take over on Spawn, he did an interview where he's like, oh, my first assignment at Marvel was doing this dog book called Quasar. Like, first of all, when you say something's called something, it assumes that the audience doesn't know what you're talking about. Right. Everyone reading the interview knew what Quasar was. But the fact that he called it a dog book, like, look at this. Look how much fun Greg Capullo is having drawing this story. Right?
Yeah. And you know what? I can't help but wonder, maybe the reason why it's been consistently like pretty good, and then at this point it's like fantastic, is the fact that they were allowed to do whatever they wanted with this. Like, it wasn't like this. It wasn't like the staple of Marvel. It's not this huge tentpole character that they're able to just do whatever they wanted and tell this like fucking awesome story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
You could be right. Yeah. Like with X-Men or something, or Spider-Man, you've got all these editors and
right.
the owners of the company saying, "Oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that." Whereas you're right with Quasar, do what? Who cares?
Who gives a shit? Yeah,
like if you want to put Diamond Head in or whatever his name is, you want to put Gargoyle, Wood God.
Right? Yeah, who cares? Yeah,
right.
it's really fun. I don't. It is kind of crazy that this didn't pick up. That this wasn't something more. I totally agree with you, because this is very fun. And like, I think a really good blend of like science fiction and superhero. Like, it's really good in between. I
agree.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, now we're going to jump to Cosmos in Collision Part 3, which
the
takes
enemy
place
revealed
21. Yep.
Right. Yeah. This one.
Tell us what happens in this one.
Yeah. So we see he is now taken on the this entity has taken on the name of anomaly. And he goes up to the entity Oblivion, and he starts talking to this entity and is kind of like, listen, I've consumed Anomaly. That's me now. And I want your help. Essentially what I want to do is I want to take the entire universe and reduce it down to a single atom. And by doing that, you will pretty much have the entire universe. So I want to do that for you. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want from me? Why are you asking my permission? He's like, well, I want to know all of this knowledge. I essentially want to know everything about the universe. That way I can figure out how to best do this. And he's like, well, go to Earth, consume Eon, and that's how you're going to find out what's going on in the universe and how to do this thing. And that's when we see Death Urge, which we haven't seen since like the beginning of Quasar.
Like
one of the first few. Yeah. I think it was when he first goes to Jupiter, or no, where does he go? Whatever planet he has to travel to find that civilization, right?
Venus, or whatever. Yeah, one of them. Right,
because he's like skiing around and kind of like teasing Quasar. So yeah, we get this moment where he's kind of like,
oh, just for the record, it's number 2.
Number 2. Yes. Okay, yeah.
It's, on Uranus.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like, is that who I think it is? And this entity's like, yes, that is them. So we're left kind of confused as to what Death Urge and who this entity once was. We cut back to our regular characters here. We're at Quasar's father's funeral. He kind of storms off. He's a little bit angry, and in the limousine, he quickly changes into Quasar, and out the other side, he flies off, leaving his friends to kind of wonder what that was. And we see Makari as well there, kind of like...
Oh, by the way, that little kid, the guy in the bottom right there, I think that's Greg Capullo.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, he flies back to his office, and he walks in as Quasar. He's kind of like, at this point, I really don't care about my secret identity. So he tells these guys to leave, and he spends the night in his office. And when he wakes up, he walks out and he sees his employees kind of all sitting there sorting through the paperwork from the battle that had just happened there. And while there, he actually reveals his identity to his entire team. And at this point, Makari's like, I got something to say too. I'm actually an eternal, and or not an eternal, sorry, an inhuman, and I'm Makari. And he quickly sorts the paperwork for everybody. And we get some sort of disturbance.
He's an eternal.
Yeah, you're right. He's an eternal. Yeah. I don't know why anyways, they hear something outside. So Quasar suits up and he sees this bad guy flying around. the Four Freedoms Tower, and he goes out and he starts pummeling this guy. And even after he's kind of been defeated, he continues to like bash him. And Makari has to kind of step in. He jumps off the building, making Quasar stop to go and save Makari. And he's like, I jumped off so you would save me, so you would stop beating this guy up. Don't you think you're going a little too far? So he kind of he brings the guy to the hospital, we're told, and he's fine and in stable condition. As they're sorting through everything, they get a call from one of the investors, like this rich guy that wants to buy a bunch of security. And he's like, well, I was just invited to this billionaire's mansion tonight. He said that you guys can all come with us. Let's go there. And he wants to talk business. So they show up to this haunted mansion, essentially, and they're like, the butler opens the door and brings them in. And this like old, wrinkly kind of like, not like fully disfigured, but like there's something off about him. It doesn't look like he's just an old man. It looks like he's got some sort of like something about his face is off. And he's surrounded by these three like young, beautiful women that he calls his nieces. And you know, it's very off-putting, really weird. They're sitting around having dinner, and he starts talking about his family lineage and how he came into all of this money. And he reveals that his father was an inhuman and his mother was a deviant. Or maybe I have them mixed around. But his parents, one of his parents was an inhuman, one was deviant. Right. And then on top of that, he was exposed to the Terrigen Mist. And then his DNA mutated further. And he has all of these like crazy powers. And everybody there is kind of like, what the hell is going on? We get also while this is going on, we get like some inner dialogue of SD or MS, right? And she's kind of like, I've got to say something. This guy is the evil guy that Quasar is looking for, but for some reason I can't speak. So he's going on and on. Oh, it's great. It's it's so intense. He's kind of revealing how he has all of these powers, and he's talking about how he is going to or he reveals that he knows that this guy is Quasar. And Quasar's like, whoa, how do you know that? And just at that moment, she gets up and fights this like urge in her brain to then throw a knife at the butler, who she finds out is like putting this like mental blocker in her brain. And the knife just stops in midair. Right. And it turns out that this guy has control of like all matter and energy. That's kind of his power. So he again once again starts revealing that he's this evil guy and this is his plan. And Makari's kind of like, you know what, I've had enough of this talking. I'm gonna stop this guy once and for all. So he gets up and starts running around the table, and he stops him in the middle of him running, right mid-stride, and he's kind of like, your friend's very fast, Quasar. It's quite unusual for an Eternal. I wonder though, how fast is he at dying? And he causes Makari to have a heart attack, and he dies. Like, he just kills Makari, which is very shocking. I was so surprised that this happened so quickly like this. He's kind of now threatening the rest of his friends, and he says, if you don't give me the quantum bands, I'm going to kill your friends, and I'm going to give you to the count of 3. And he starts counting 1, 2, 3, and he chops off Quasar's hands.
It's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's wild. What an ending. What a build up. I mean, and the thing is too, it's like slowly been built up and like almost hinted at. Even the last issue, they talked about how when he's talking to Eon, he's like, I'm giving up my powers, take your bands back. Eon's like, well, there's only one way for you to give the bands back, and that's if you completely die. So you can't actually take the bands off. And he's just like chopped off his hands to get the quantum bands. It's very shocking. Like, again, for like a main series like Marvel comic, I can't see them doing this to any other character like right like this in their own book. Like, it's so extreme. What a shock, honestly. Like, it's so let's talk. There's a lot of great scenes, like, again, the opening scene with Death Urge coming back. I love that. Oh yeah. The funeral scene is great. Him going into the limousine and changing. It's kind of like a callback. I think that was done in Superman 3, I think, where he went into a police car and changed. Right. I think they even reference Superman in, I don't think this issue, maybe the last one, right? Okay. Where he tells the secretary, like, and hey, when I get back, I'll fly you around the city, just like in the Superman movie. That's pretty cool. And then coming, like, it's kind of odd, again, like blowing his secret identity, flying back as Quasar, kicking those guys out, sitting down, confronting his staff. Like, it's almost like now we're in Quasar the movie, where everything is happening so fast, everything's turning over so fast. It's really cool. Then he fights this bad guy. Like, it's just, everything to me works. And then this whole sequence at the end with all. And I've seen this type of scene done before, where we're head hopping around to all the different characters, and everyone knows something's going wrong, but no one really or pinpoint what's happening. I love that. Then the fact that this bad guy, we find out how powerful he is, and he's able to take down Makari, and then he's able to stop Quasar. Great. Now, the only flaw, and I don't know if this is Mark Gruenwald or if this is the editor, but I felt like at the end when he says, say goodbye to your hands, I really wish it would have just cut to the next page and caption 5 grisly minutes later. I really think that puts a damper on the impact of the last page. What do you think? Yeah, I do feel like the 5 minutes later thing, I was like, oh, I feel like it didn't even need to be that long. Instant. Yeah, he also like controls like molecules, right? So he could have just like sliced it immediately. I don't like, it didn't even need to be like a knife cutting it. He could have just like ripped them off. You know what I mean? Like something. Or something. Exactly. But still, honestly, the fact that they go like, say goodbye to your hands, and then the immediate cut to the splash page of him laying there with his hands gone, and the fact that the last page is a splash page. Yeah. It's really impactful. It's really, really impactful. Like, you remember, I think it was Quasar. We were talking about how, like, a lot of times in the last, like, page, they're, like, ramming in the ending to finish it. This is so well thought out that, like, this is how this is going to end. It's going to be this huge splash page, and it's going to stay with you. Like, I can't imagine getting it as this was coming out, having to wait a month to then figure out what is happening next after he loses his hands. Agree. It's great. Yeah. Agree 100%. Yeah, like, this is great. And I've always thought that, I mean, not every story has to end on a splash page, but if you have a really impactful last beat of a story, you really should have a splash page just to drive it home, right? And just to have it, because when you're cramming, like, I remember, I think it was Jim Lee when he did the X-Men Volume 2, I think it was one of the first appearances of, you remember Maverick? Remember the character Maverick? It was like one of his first appearances where it was like the story, it was like he ran out of pages and had to cram like 15 panels into the last page. It was just so poorly done. But it was like every Marvel team up as well. when we were reading that. It was like, oh, how are we gonna get Spider-Man to say goodbye to Howard the Duck? I don't know. We'll cram it together in this last page to, you know, end the story.
Right. It should be planned out. Like, you should. It's not that it doesn't take more time. Like, if you're an artist, you plan out your panels and you go, okay, I know this is the last page, so I'm gonna block one full page there, and you can work backwards when you're planning out your panels. It doesn't take, you know, it just takes planning. But anyway, okay, so yeah, go ahead.
These pages are very good, very well thought out. Like, it's just people sitting in chairs, and it is so interesting. The panels themselves are fine. Like, I don't think that there's, for the most part, anything spectacular happening, but the dialogue and the build up to this is so good. The tension in the dialogue is really great. I think the one small thing I have with this is just the fact that they, like, all of a sudden get a call from this, like, wealthy guy to come for dinner. It does feel like a little bit weird that they're like, yeah, hey, let's go to this stranger's house for dinner. But like, I don't know, they could have done maybe something small to, like, hint that this person is here or something. Like, they got an invitation, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or maybe they got the invitation but ignored it.
Yeah, because it does.
Like, oh, you know what, we should go or something. You're right.
Yeah,
it's a little bit.
It does feel a little bit out of nowhere that they end up going to this place, but once we're here, it's like, wow, I think it's really well done.
Can you also jump back? I think it's like 3 or 4 pages. Go back, right there. I love that panel of the 4 of them reacting to the good news, and like the one Tanaka with the black eye. Like, I love that. That's so funny.
Yeah, and they kept his, like, black eye throughout. Like, when he's sitting here, like, we can see him up here, like, squinting, and then I think it's when they're all, like, listening here. Yeah, like, his one eye is, like, closed and, like, squinted from, like, the black eye from the fight. It's yeah. Again, attention to detail, and just, like, the dialogue being so good. It adds to the tension. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
Agree.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to jump to part 4, the last issue that we're going to review today. Am I doing this one? Yeah, I guess I am, eh? Okay. So we open up. So they titled this thing weird. So the cover, it's Cosmos in Collision. That's the name of the series. But inside, it's called Prologue for A Long Day's Journey into Death. Okay, fine, whatever. So we have, this is the guy whose name we don't know.
Right.
Plotting about killing all the Watchers because they're troublemakers, right?
Right. So this is like in the past.
That's what I was wondering about. If this is the setup for Journey into Mystery.
This is the disease that Quasar had to go stop the Watchers. Right, and Journey to Mystery. So that was really cool. And then we get, again, is this a mainstream Marvel book? Quasar is basically crucified with no hands in this guy's mansion, and he's just having, like, the whole issue is almost like a fever dream. Yeah.
Mostly. So the first thing that happens is he confronts Death Urge, and I tell you, this is like something out of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, where Death Urge said in Quasar number 2, the next time you see me, you're going to beg me to kill you, and I won't do it. And in this issue, it comes, it comes true. It's just so well done. But he's talking to Death Urge. Death Urge leaves, and he begs him to come back, and he doesn't come back. And then Captain Marvel appears as like a hallucination, and then we actually cut away at that point. We cut over to what's his name? This is the guy?
Right. It's like some sort of, like, fancy rich person name. We're not really told if he has, like, a supervillain name quite yet. It's like Mick Rich Man, like, it's some, like, something ridiculous,
But he's holding Quasar's. It's pretty gross because he's holding the hands and the wristbands, and he's trying to figure out how to use them because technically Quasar's not dead yet. And go ahead.
And as this is happening too, like Quasar's blood is still like flying and circling around him.
Yes.
Like it's I don't know.
But one of the characters said, because there's like a guy and a girl, and they're almost like the teenagers. Oh, these are the three girls from the last.
Yeah.
But then one of them says, "Could you not whittle away at the arms and scoop out all the organic material from inside the bands?" Like, what the heck am I reading? Right? This is crazy. Yeah, it's so grotesque.
And we also learned that these three characters are also like beings that represent abstract like thoughts or things, right? Like these three characters are truth, charm, and beauty.
Very cool. Yes. The Weird Sisters. Weird Sisters. So the Weird Sisters is, I assume, a reference to Shakespeare's, is that Macbeth, I think? I think it's Macbeth. But anyway, very cool. This is the first appearance, actually. So, yeah, very cool. So anyway, I'm just clicking around here. I was on marvelfandom.com.
Oh, yeah.
So then we also, so then the bad guy's like looking into the quantum band. He's like, "Show yourself, Eon, you most senile of time beings," right? That wasn't so hard. So now you can see Eon. And then we cut back over to Quasar talking to Captain Marvel. And he's like, "Am I hallucinating?" And Marvel's like, "No, I really am Marvel. Eon sent me here." So is this the ghost? Is this whatever? We don't really know. But this is actually, again, a very well-written scene, I think. He's talking to Quasar.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think all of these like moments where he's talking to these like ghosts essentially are really well written.
Yeah. And he's like, basically Quasar is like, he's still pissed off about what Eon did with his father. And then Captain Marvel is like, "You really should excuse certain things in him, Quasar. He's very alien. He doesn't know some of the finer points of humanoid experience." And then Quasar's like, "I forgive him, Captain." And a huge tear is coming from his eye. And then he's like, "It's myself I can't forgive."
Right, yeah.
This is great. Oh my God, this is great. And then he's like, "Look at me, I'm a failure," And then Marvel's trying to kind of give him back his confidence. And he's like, and then he just, he finishes his message to him, and then he leaves him alone. So now Quasar is alone again. Then we cut back over to this is in
the mansion, and his friends are being held as like captives in the basement.
And this is where we learn that what's her name, Miss freaking woman whose name we can't remember, is actually Moondragon from. I guess mostly Avengers. But are you familiar with Dragon?
From the Avengers, yeah.
Okay. And other comics, but So this is another character that, Mark Gruenwald has kind of dug up, which is awesome. Again, this is the old days. And it's funny because I actually heard Mark Waid once really diss Mark Gruenwald, but I feel like Mark Waid is kind of the successor to Mark Gruenwald because his stories are so steeped in continuity in a good way. He builds on old continuity, and it's not a crutch to him. So I really like that, bringing back all these old characters instead of just rebooting everything. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
So we get kind of a flashback to explain who she is and where she came from, and then of course I love this when she's like, "You see, once I'd been passed over as the celestial Madonna," and then
it's so great.
What about Madonna? I love that stuff, right? So we get a little flashback. I like. Unfortunately, this is one of Mark Gruenwald's, actually his crutches, because he's the one that wrote. Remember those Atlantis attacks backup stories where it was all just flashback and exposition?
Yes.
So hard to trudge through. So that was all him. We'll forgive him for that because he did Quasar.
Yeah.
But so basically, what's her name? Moondragon is trying to explain that. I don't even know what she says here. I don't remember this.
Essentially, when she first saw him, when he became an Avenger, she knew that they were like destined to be together, and she wanted to like help protect him. So she took on this disguise, and then from there connected with Eon to like better figure out what was going on. And Eon connected with her to kind of to give his friends protection.
Right.
So she has been like protecting their minds from whatever's been going on.
And it's funny because like we as readers were totally thrown for a loop because we didn't see that coming at all. Like, we knew that something was up about her, but I thought she was going to turn out to be a bad guy.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So now we get a vision of Quasar's father. He appears. And then he's like, I know I shouldn't be here since I'm dead. Remember that discussion we had once about death when I told you I don't believe in any sort of afterlife? Well, I still don't.
It's so good. Yeah,
it's a great little scene. And so they're kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
And, they have like a nice discussion. And then Quasar's father hugs him at the end. He's like, take care, son. I love you. And then again, we're left with Quasar by himself, hanging in the darkness. It's so well done. We cut back over to bad guy with the weird sisters. Oh, it's
Maelstrom. Right.
Maelstrom and the weird sisters. And then he's like,
it's so normal. Oh yeah, we come back to Maelstrom and the weird sisters.
Yeah, I know. Truth charm, watch as I open the gateway to the Eon verse. Eon, you ghastly glob of distilled time, I'm coming to kill you.
Right.
And then we cut back over, and now Quasar.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So who's this now? This is
just some guy, like this. Someone was like one of his.
Oh, I love that. This is
henchmen, right?
In an issue of great writing, how is this now the best scene? So this guy comes to beat him, and he specifically says, I'm going to whip you 39 times, and I want you to keep count for me. Understand? Here goes. He hits him once, and Quasar says, 1. And then he hits him again. And in a move that would make Captain Picard jealous, he says, 1. He's like, well, that was, what was that, boy? 2 comes after 1. Here, I'll hit you again. And the Quasar says, 1. And he's like, what? Are you an idiot? I'll never get to 39 if you keep repeating 1. And so then he keeps hitting him, but Quasar keeps saying 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I love this. Shut up. And then he's like, he's all out of breath. He's like, okay, well. He's like, I lost count, but that must have been at least 39.
Right.
And then now we have another appearance at the end. This character, Kid Reaper. I don't know if Kid Reaper
I've never heard of Kid Reaper. I won't lie.
Okay, I just found out oh my God. Kid Reaper. Oh no, I see. Okay, sorry. No, this is a manifestation of death, but this version of death, I don't know if this is Kid Reaper's first appearance. I'm not sure, but a very cool little scene at the end, like a kid dressed up like death. Like, I'm Kid Reaper, your very own personal vision of death itself. Coolness, huh? and then Quasar, oh my gosh, his face is all beaten to a pulp. He's like missing teeth, and then it's like a little cartoon character is talking to him.
Yeah,
it's so awesome. And then the cartoon death takes this scythe and drives it right through Quasar's heart. Then we cut over to Maelstrom, right?
Right.
Like, Eon, your body's disgusting. Then all of a sudden the hands drop in front of him. He's like, the quantum bands have come off Quasar's hands. That means he's dead at last, and the bands are mine. Then we cut over to Moondragon screaming, no! Kind of an awkward little segue.
Yeah.
The wine cellar, that kind of ruins it. And then another awkward segue, Brooklyn, New York. We don't need that explanation. We're intelligent. But now we see the hottest character at Marvel at this time. No.
Okay. Right. Okay, like, gotcha.
This was, in 1990, this was the biggest character at Marvel for that year. Ghost Rider! Incredible splash page by Greg Capullo. What a splash page and what a cliffhanger. Ghost Rider, who guest appeared in every single Marvel comic of that summer. Now Ghost Rider's here, and now we have to buy the next issue. And Marvel did its job. This is a great issue, and I loved it. What do you think?
It's really good.
Yeah,
it has like a Christmas Carol type of vibe to it with the ghosts that are like coming to visit Quasar before he dies. It's so interesting, like because again he's kind of like dealing with everything that's been going on with him and having to reconcile before he dies. It's really good. I mean, like Death Urge is kind of like the past, right? Like talking about how I warned you about this when you were younger and you were just starting out as a hero, and then like all of these different like visions coming to him. It's so great. It's again, maybe it's because we've been reading since the beginning. I wonder if somebody just picked up these 4 issues or like the 7 for the whole series, how much they would be into it, because there is a lot of buildup, I feel like, before this, that like seeing this, it's such a great, fantastic payoff. But I totally buy that he is in pain, that he is remorseful. Like when he's like down on himself, I'm not rolling my eyes. It doesn't feel like melodrama.
Sure.
Because
or modeling,
because the quite literally the weight of the universe was on his shoulders, right? Like he is responsible for life in the entire universe he's supposed to protect, and he is dealing with that throughout his entire series. Every issue, he's kind of like, oh, I'm stressed out. I don't know what's going on. I've just been thrown into this and I've accepted this duty to save everybody. And on top of that, like my dad doesn't feel like protecting the universe is enough for him. This being that gave me these powers isn't describing anything, like won't talk to me, won't give me any details. He doesn't feel like he's fit for these powers. Like it's all of this stuff is built up to this moment, and he's kind of just all letting it bear in these, in these pages. And it's, I think, a really good payoff. Again, normally when a character's just like complaining about their lives, I don't know. Maybe besides Spider-Man and even then Peter Parker's things, but it's supposed to kind of feel melodramatic at times because he's a teenager, right? And that's how teenagers think. Yeah. But I think a lot of other heroes where they're like, no, my world is crumbling, I don't always buy it. Here, it's 100%. Like I get what's happening,
It actually, you bring up a good point, because a lot of people talk about the Silver Surfer series by Stan Lee and John Buscema. One reason it failed is because I don't think readers bought Silver Surfer's like self-pity. Right? He was always whining and philosophizing and whatever, but it always came off as phony and forced, and this feels real. This feels very real. Yeah. And the conversations he has with each of these visions is very well done, So another good issue. And then the fact that we get this weird scene at the end where this other guy comes in and beats him. It's just it's just like Mark Gruenwald keeps topping himself. It's just so well done. The series is getting better and better and better. And like I said, I have to point out that at this point I was not reading Quasar when it came out. I only bought these issues, I don't know, a handful of years, maybe 5 years later. But this is good stuff for sure. I am very excited to read the next issue again. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I can't wait. In fact, I might read it tonight.
Hello.
It's really, really good. I can't wait to figure out what's going on.
There you go.
It's really, really good. And it's like the perfect amount of weird things happening. Like when Kid Reaper shows up, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, it's so strange, but I'm loving it. I'm here for the ride. I can't wait to see how Ghost Rider fits into this. I'm excited.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, be sure our Quasar chronology schedule is a bit irregular, but we'll say in about a month we'll review the next batch of Cosmos and Collision issues. So be sure to join us for that, and also be sure to join us every other week for Taped Crusaders, and
that's
then
right.
Those weeks, Slam, and Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find all of our stuff over on our website at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. All of our stuff is also a video format now, so you can watch all of our podcasts on our YouTube channel. Leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about the comics and the movies and the things we're talking about. Keep in touch, and until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.